What is your vision for the future of our American education system?
Well, education is one of the principal foundations of my campaign. You know, after repairing the economy and dealing with national security, homeland security issues, education is fundamental to our rebirth as an industrial giant. We need to make sure that people who graduate from our secondary schools can contribute immediately in the workforce without remediation. We've got to be able to do that. We look at it, you know, we forget we're here in lovely Blackstone Valley, but on the other side of the district is the city of Springfield, with a 40% dropout rate, with socioeconomic data that hasn't improved in the last 10 years by any standard. Poverty, test scores have actually improved just a little bit. But the fact of the matter is we put people at risk. And so we need to work on this equation of education. Look, here in Massachusetts, we're foregoing the MCAS standards in favor of the Race to the Top Common Core curriculum. I believe we need to have greater local control of education. And so we have Race to the Top money now, for example, that, you know, because as you know, that Massachusetts is a finalist now. Race to the Top money that's been given to Boston, not to improve their test scores, not to improve the level of education, but to buy surveillance cameras. One of the biggest holdups and hangups in getting this moving forward has been the issue of teacher proficiency. And how do you measure teacher performance? And it's been a big sticking point. But I did consult with the Center for Educational and Leadership Technologies here in Westboro, and talked about some of the things, and they educated me about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've actually come across with a completely different approach, or a slightly different approach, but certainly a different approach towards incentivizing teachers and measuring teachers' performance. And it looks an awful lot like corporate measurements, human resources measurements, the kind of grids that we put together based upon performance and potential and things. They talk about teacher competencies. If you can put a series of competencies together that are relevant to the area that you're living in, then we can get away from this issue of performance measurement, which has hung up all of the unions as well. So, look, I am an advocate of increasing our educational investments and true investments, not in surveillance cameras, but true meaningful investments in our secondary and post-secondary education. I'm an advocate of bringing more education into community schools and community colleges, Quinsigamond College, you go on, those sorts of things. Community colleges are very, very important. And I also am an advocate of the proposals advocated by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think there is common ground here. I think education is the bedrock of our future for creating additional innovative products that keep America strong and make it continue to be a robust manufacturing center for the world.
This is one of the most important questions that confronts America. And it's important to note that fourth grade students in Massachusetts do better than arguably most children in the world. By the time that you get to the 8th grade, you can see a little bit of a leveling off. But nonetheless, our students in suburban communities do very, very well. I like the idea of race to the top because it doesn't pigeonhole educators. It leaves some room to experiment at the local level as to what needs to be done. Now, I taught in public schools, and I taught, as you heard me say, with the Sisters of St. Joseph, who educated 4 of my children as well. And I know that what works in one place doesn't necessarily work in another. And that's the role of some creativity and some experimenting, and not to cookie cutter what everybody has to do. Now, the other great achievement and opportunity we have here in Massachusetts is the community college. Do you know the community college system in a place like Southbridge right now is offering classes up until 10 o'clock at night? In some measure, it's there because I helped with federal assistance to get that location built up to standards. There are 1,500 students on that site at the old AO in Southbridge. And I want to tell you, I am pushing hard with Representative Fernandez to get Quinsigamond Community College right here into Milford, Mendon, and the Blackstone Valley. The community college offers a great opportunity for women who find themselves, for whatever reason, in the middle of their lives, trying to recreate perhaps a new career after children have moved on. It allows all of us to upgrade skills in an academic setting. And I want to tell you something. We've got a first-class university system here with UMass and our state colleges. When you consider what the cost of private education is, and when you consider what that opportunity is in our public education system here, it's very important. But I want to say this to you, because I also think it bears noting. And I'm in favor of local control. I served on the school committee. But letting administrators unleash creativity can only be done with some assistance from state and federal governments. The federal government only provides 7% of the revenue that comes to local school districts. So let the superintendents and let the teachers figure out what is best for that local school system. But I want to tell you this that I think is important as well. Real national defense also means having children that can read and write.
Okay, thank you once again to our candidates. I just wanted to say that we got a tremendous response. I'd like to thank all of you for your very articulate questions that were posed on the index cards. What we're going to do is this. We're going to make copies of all the questions, all the index cards that we received. We will be handing a copy over to both campaigns so that they will be aware of your concerns, your comments, your observations, and hopefully both candidates will get back to you and address them. So I urge you to contact both those offices. If you are not able to have your question asked and have follow-up and hear the response by Congressman Neal or Mr. Tom Wesley, certainly we encourage you to contact those offices. We're going to give them, as I said, a copy of all the questions that were written today. With that, we're going to now ask.
We're now
going to start?
going to proceed to the
Closing
wrap-up. So each candidate an opportunity to give 2-minute wrap-up comments, and because Congressman Neal went first in the opening, he gets to go last in the wrap-up. So Tom Wesley, please.
Make sure you turn it on.
Got it. I was a pilot, you know. There is an on/off switch. I know how to use it. Well, thank you first and foremost to the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce and to you for being such a wonderful audience. Tame, respectful, and I think, as we said earlier on, this is democracy, isn't it? This is what it's all about. So I'll point out to those of you who haven't been keeping score, this is the first time in 14 years that the Congressman has had an opponent. And I thank you for the respect that you've shown me today. A couple of things I want to just wrap up with here. We talk about how we're going to pay for things. Whether it's in taxes and how can we let tax cuts go into effect. We've got to stop spending as much. We haven't talked much about the spending side of the equation, but if we don't stop spending, the people who take our debt are going to demand us to cut spending. People like China, the People's Republic of China, will be imposing regulations and conditions upon us that are going to force us to make very difficult choices in this country. And we had better be out front of that, lest the communist country tell us how to spend our money and how to borrow it. We've heard a lot about representation. Like, I'm a businessman, and I've been involved in sales and marketing and operations. And I'll tell you this, what made me successful was that I was able to treat all my customers as being equidistant. It didn't matter if someone said, Tom, I need you. It didn't matter whether they were in Washington, in California, or in Europe. I'd get on the phone, or I'd get off the phone and get on the plane and go see them. So no matter where you are in this district, that's jacks or better for someone to represent you, no matter where you are in this district, 41 towns and cities. But I'll tell you this, I've been on the waiting end of the receiving game of asking questions that haven't been answered. As a scout,